I'm Chris Mcdonough, a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. Hey, happy Mother's Day, everybody. And as you can tell, I have a very special guest.
Hi, everybody.
With me tonight. I have my beautiful wife and wonderful mom of our child and children, and Miss Karen.
Hi, everybody.
And you have no idea what it took for me to get her to sit next to me tonight here. And,
well, let's say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, all the grandmas, everybody out there. I hope you're having a wonderful, special day, all of our wonderful women out there. I've been having a great day here. My guys have been treating me beautifully, as always. So it's great to be here. It's fun. I'm glad I'm here. And should we shout out and thank you to our mods right now?
Yeah, give everybody a shout.
Wow, you all have done an incredible job this week. You've been so busy. What a crazy busy week, right? For everything. So thank you so much. We hope each of you are having a wonderful day, and thank you for all you do. And let's thank our members.
Yeah. Karen is, as you'll learn here, she likes to be on the other side of the coin here. And quite frankly, I've been trying to talk her into maybe switching. So we'll see what happens. I'm teasing, but
that probably won't happen.
But. Yeah. So shout out to everybody. Let's see where everybody is here. And I'll tell you, we've got a heck of a program for you this evening. We're going to show you stuff that has never been seen before. And I hope it'll connect some other dots. I mean, I've had a lot of people ask me about, why I started in Indiana with, Barry and kind of, dissecting some of those things over there that we've learned. But we'll break that down a little bit more this evening. So that everybody can kind of connect some of those dots from a behavioral analysis side. Remember, in order to understand, as I always talk about, in order to understand the hunter, you have to first understand where he's hunted. Okay, so we're going to kind of take you back a little bit more, even further than that tonight. We're going to go into the dynamics of his family a little bit more, and not necessarily the dynamics of his sisters or his mom, but just the total picture with his dad, why those pieces of the puzzle. And I know some people have been going, okay, you went to baseball field, you went to his house and et cetera. But what we have to understand in order to get here in Barry, so that we understand what this did to Suzanne. And we're also going to talk about Maya and Larry tonight. So in order to get here with Larry, okay, then we have to understand Maya and where Larry came from as well. So we got two big cases we're going to talk about. We're still here in Salida, Colorado, in our Airstream, if you can believe it.
We are. We've been here all week. We're still here tonight. And, we should just take a minute and, it's Mother's Day. It's a wonderful day. But of course, it's a very bittersweet Mother's Day.
It is.
It's a day long coming for the Mormon family with the arrest of Barry Morphew this week. But it's also the first Mother's Day that Maya Millete's children are without their mother, as we all know. So it's certainly bittersweet. And we're going to get into both of these stories and investigations, and as you know, so
yeah, and of course, we want to be sensitive, to the girls, Suzanne's girls, so that we're paying attention, to them too on this sad occasion. So it's heartbreaking. There's no question about it. It's bittersweet. Folks are here from all over the world: Sweden, Ireland, the UK, Scotland, all over the United States. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for trusting us. But I want to tell you a couple things about this young lady right here. Okay.
Oh boy.
And she never knows where I'm going to go, but she's the love of my life. We've been together a very long time. Yeah. And I will share with you, 3 weeks into our marriage, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. So she's been an ovarian cancer survivor, well past 20 years now, 20 something years, right? Yep. Don't hold that against me, but it's been a long time. But the ride has been absolutely the greatest opportunity in my life. And our little Dylan is absolutely a miracle child, because they told us, children are out of the picture. So that said, God bless all of you young women out there as well, who are cancer survivors from all types of cancer. You're in our prayers daily, and hopefully we can give you some strength as well, because this young lady has done it, and she keeps doing it on a daily basis. So very proud of her. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and jump into what we've got. Han, bring us up to speed on where we've been. Let's start at the top here in Suzanne's case.
Okay, so obviously this week, if you're joining us, if you haven't heard the news this week, Barry Morphew was arrested on May 5th in connection with the murder of Suzanne Morphew. They have not found the body. Sheriff John Speasy has said that Suzanne is deceased, and Barry was arrested for first-degree murder with deliberation, tampering with evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant. And we saw him this week at his court appearance, his first hearing in front of Judge Murphy.
Yep.
We all saw that. And so he came out, of course, in the jailhouse clothes, shackled feet.
He had his own tiger suit, little stripes, orange stripes. It was pretty. I liked it. That's Buddy in the background.
Buddy.
So
now
Buddy.
you're hearing Buddy going on.
So go ahead.
And he, in a rather meek voice, answered his questions to the judge, saying, "Yes, sir," very quietly. Very different from the persona we all expected.
Yeah.
And when asked by the judge, he asked for a public defender. And then off camera were the girls, Barry and Suzanne's daughters.
And his mom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His mom was there as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And the district attorney, Linda Stanley, filed a motion to keep the arrest warrant affidavit sealed. So we, for now, won't be able to get that. Barry's next court appearance is May 27th at 4 p.m.
Yep.
At the Chaffee County Courthouse. So that's just a recap of this week so far. Am I forgetting anything?
I think we're right on target.
Okay.
So a couple of things also about Karen that you don't know. She was an investigative journalist. She's been a journalist over 30 plus years. And so she's actually the brains of the operation. That should make some of you feel very comfortable now that you get to see her out front here. But together between us, we each have our strengths, and we each have brought to the table, those strengths, particularly for Suzanne, et cetera, and others, and next Maya. I mean, we've been engaged with Maya now. And there are going to be others, but Maya's are definitely, we are going to help assist with her situation as well. So both of these tragic cases, both of these mothers not here today. So first, let's start with a little bit more about Barry. Okay, what we're going to show you tonight are some things that have never been seen, and the reason we've held them back. I've been holding this stuff for almost 9 months. And then as we continued start to build on this particular, case, we started learning more and more. But just so you know, I started with Barry first. When I saw that very first video that Tyson Draper did, and kudos to Tyson Draper, that young man and that good person actually started this thing full speed, in not only in the YouTube community, but quite frankly around the world. He really, by chance ran into Barry, but he was smart enough and sharp enough to keep that camera rolling, and it was because of that. I was able to see and hear and really kind of focus on some of the things that my skill set brought to the table, that helped us understand him a little bit more. And that kind of set us off into an adventure here. For those of you who don't know, I'm also on the Cold Case Foundation. My background is criminal behavioral analysis. We won't go into that, but as a whole, this isn't my first rodeo, and you can check my bio down at the bottom there. That said, this has never been about me. It'll never be about me. This is 100% about Maya and about Suzanne, and how we can bring our gifts to the table and help those good people and those families who are missing their sweet children this day. Okay?
As many people in the YouTube community are doing as well.
Yeah.
So much great work out there by everybody. And it's really great to see this just collective effort and kind of spirit around it. And others on the outside are noticing.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it comes to these cases.
Yeah. And so, D-Man in the back room. Well, before you set it up, let me set this picture up. Okay? The reason I wanted to get to know Barry in an in-depth understanding. First of all, in order to understand him as a whole, then you have to understand the dynamics of his relationships between him and his father. Okay. Now, typically, it can go either way. A child can have a dysfunctional relationship with the mother, and then you see kind of that behavior displaying itself, long term. But what in the criminal behavior analysis world, you look for three things, right? It's called the homicide triad. You look for cruelty to animals, you look for fire starting, and you look for severe bedwetting. And I'm not just talking about, a child wetting the bed or something to that effect. I'm talking a child who constantly, from the stresses in home, from the environment, and those types of things that really push a child not to have the coping mechanisms. And quite frankly, they just lose their bladder. Okay. So I wanted to see if any of those dynamics early on ever existed in Barry's background. Okay. And what I discovered, and what Karen and I both discovered through talking with friends, family, associates that he grew up with, ball players that he played with. I mean, we went through the whole gamut and interviewed a lot of people. Okay. Now, this was not in conjunction with, getting in the way of anything that CBI, FBI, or the Chaffee County Sheriff's Department were doing. It's totally independent of what they were doing. We were not trying to solve any crime. What we were trying to do is just get to a place to understand Barry Morphew. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay,
and
go.
If you haven't seen it, please check out our video. It's called Lost Dreams. It's the story of Suzanne and Barry, and this is all the in-depth background on Barry Morphew. Check it out, and please share it if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. Share it with friends, and it's the link is in the description below.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So a couple things to kind of dovetail into what Karen just said. So what we learned was very interesting. Okay. And we're not going to I'm just not going to, say that, all hunters or whoever end up this way. No, that's not the case. Okay. There are a lot of people who are, normal hunters who've had bad relationships with their parents, and they don't end up this way. Okay. But then there is a certain set of people, okay, that quite frankly, I've had job security almost, since 1982 when I started this industry in this business, okay, that have given me job security. Okay. And I've made a life out of studying them as well as putting them in prison. Okay. Because that's where they belonged. Okay. Unfortunately, because they do bad things. Good people do bad things. It doesn't always make them bad people. Okay. But sometimes there is a subset of criminals, and about 4% of them, okay, who quite frankly wake up in the morning, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, have their coffee, and they go out to harm the average citizen across the, whatever communities we're all living in today. Okay. So in order to understand that, we had to start with Barry's dad. Okay. And what we learned was pretty interesting. Okay. So, Karen, why don't you fill them in some of the things that struck out at you?
You mean with Barry's dad?
Yeah.
Okay. So his dad, his name was Roger Morphew. So we found out a couple interesting things. So apparently Roger wanted to be a country singer back in his day. Apparently he had a really great country music voice that people compared to Merle Haggard.
Mm-hmm.
And he played in Indiana with Steve Wariner, who's also from that part, Noblesville, Indiana.
Who's actually a country star today.
Exactly. This Steve Wariner went on to be a country music singer, and he's been around a long time. He still plays at the Grand Ole Opry. So Roger apparently had to give up his dream of wanting to try to be a famous country music singer. He ended up getting married to Barry's mom, Shirley. And they had a family. So this was known by Barry's close circle that his father was, he held a lot of deep resentment because he didn't get to pursue that dream.
And on top of that, remember, so apparently there was some dynamics where they thought Shirley was pregnant. Okay?
Before they got married.
Yeah. Right. And so Roger married Shirley, and then come to find out she wasn't pregnant.
But they were already married.
But they were married now. And so that really caused this problem. I don't know how to describe it, but it created this resentment.
Right.
And he then, as things started to go in the relationship, the girls, they had two girls, and then of course Barry came along as the third child. And go ahead.
That's right. So Barry's older two sisters, Marcy and Kelly. From what everybody described to us, these girls they had to wait on Barry, meaning they did his laundry. They made him sandwiches. They made him food. There was even a story that when Barry was under the driving age, so he must have maybe been 14 or 15, something before you get your license, he went out in the car with one of his sisters who was older, and she had the license. They were driving. Well, Barry got behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Apparently asked his sister,
this is fascinating.
To drive. He skids on a patch of ice. He actually hits a house.
Crashes into a house.
Crashed into a house with the car, at 14 or however old
Barry's
he was.
driving.
Barry was driving. And when the cops get there,
They switch,
and the sister took the heat.
Takes the blame.
For Barry, because obviously they wanted to, keep him clean. So these two sisters have, from what people described, a very unusual, it goes well beyond doting on the baby brother. So there was this kind of a really, that dynamic was going on in the family. And then Roger was described as very quiet, brooding. He would work. He was a hard worker and apparently worked long hours.
Very hard.
At the local automotive factory, and would come home and sit in a chair and not talk to the family, not say anything. Very disengaged from the family. And really, his daughters were growing up. They were described as being starved for their dad's attention. But when Barry came along, I hear Buddy whining. What can you do, right?
Sorry.
But anyway,
we'll try to get him.
Yeah, but picking it up, Barry, he was, everybody doted on him, and
free buddy. I know we're going to free him here. Trust me. We're worried about him running into the camera.
Either way, Buddy's going to be a live wire here. So, nope, there you go.
Okay, bud, hang on. Right there. Okay, so
anyway, that's a little slice of the home life that people have shared with us.
And so from there now, so you have these dynamics, these family dynamics of the two sisters who are basically subservient to Barry. Okay. And so now then Dad takes the role of my son, okay, will succeed at all cost. And this is where the baseball became so critical for that for his growth and his dynamic. Go ahead.
Right. So the idea was obviously the father couldn't make his dreams happen, but Barry was going to in any way, shape, or form.
Any way, shape, or form.
If the father had anything to do with it. So that was really the essence of how that dynamic came about.
So now we get into the hunting. So what energies what skills did Barry discover at a very young age that he was really good at? Well, one of them was trapping. Okay? So Barry was just an amazing trapper, according to everybody we've talked to, okay, and everybody that used to go with him. Even, okay, we've talked to a lot of people, and but one story that stuck out with me from an investigative analysis side, and that really just hit me right here in the middle of the head was, and maybe Karen, do you want to tell the you know which one I'm talking about?
I think I do. You keep going.
Pat?
Yeah, you keep going.
So Barry traps a raccoon, okay, and it's the mother of there's a baby next to the mother, okay. So Barry gets this raccoon, and by the way, he was described, he was so good at catching these animals, and then what he would do is he would skin them right there in the field, out where he caught them, and then just take the pelts and leave the carcass there at the capture site. Well, and in any given night, by the way, and he did this religiously every single day, and he would take somebody with him, and he would take these pelts, and then he would sell them for about $30 a piece. Well, in this one instant, the baby, he took it with him, and he took it home, and it became somewhat of a pet.
It was a pet.
It was a pet for a little bit.
For quite a while.
And all of his friends came over, and they all started hanging out. And, it's like, Barry, what are you doing with this raccoon? And at some point, the animal, being a wild animal, became uncontrollable. Okay. And
it got older too.
And as it got older, right? And I don't know, we don't know what that age was, but long story short, what happened was he killed it, right? And he skinned it, and then he sold that pelt. So he rescues this animal, he raises this animal, and then he destroys this animal and sells the pelt for a profit. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but when we both heard that story and validated it, I was like, okay, yeah, we're at a different level here with this guy. Okay. So fast forward. It's not unusual in, the Midwest and the Southwest, or excuse me, the Northwest and the Southwest, to be a normal, person hunting. Okay. And, people do that. Okay. I'm not a hunter, but I know, I have hunters around me in our family and that type of stuff. Okay? But that it's different than hunting for food versus hunting for, the thrill and that kind of stuff. So the correlation between the video that you will see, if you haven't seen it already, that we did in Indiana, and the correlation to what Suzanne was experiencing, okay, and those behaviors that she was seeing, and by the way, which he passed on to his daughters, okay, one of them specifically, the older daughter, she was, she'd go bear hunting with her dad. Okay. So that said, okay, that skill and that mentality had been passed on, and sits there today. Hey, so now we understand more about what Suzanne was kind of processing. Okay, and then we got into his drive to succeed in terms of financially. Okay, so I measure Barry on two levels. He's extremely egotistic and he's extremely greedy. Okay? Those are the two operating functions within his personality. And of course, the narcissistic personality traits and all of that, that's up for the doctors to figure out, and they will while he's in custody. Okay. But growing up, okay, those were the two features that stuck out. Okay. So now let's talk about some of the wrecking ball that he was in Indiana just before he left. If you want to touch on some of that, Karen.
Yeah, several of his friends told us that Suzanne had told many people in her close circle that they had to leave Indiana, that Barry had burned so many bridges through business contacts and things that he did, that they were really in a tough spot and that they needed to start fresh somewhere else. And that somewhere else was, as we know, Salida, Colorado. And now there's a lot of transactions that he did. And in that video that we mentioned, Lost Dreams, we touch a little bit upon some of these land transactions. We know that in addition to the homes that they owned, land that they had, there was this story about the elderly man who Barry came in and said he took over his mortgage and seemingly did it in a positive gesture, and then turned around and kicked the man out of the property and ended up, I believe, selling the property. There's a number of things. One thing that stood out to me that I thought was kind of interesting was about 6 months after they moved to Salida. So we know they moved to Salida at the end of 2018. About 6 months after that, beginning of May, about a year before Suzanne disappeared, so about May 2019, Barry had Suzanne sign over her power of attorney to him when they were starting a real estate relationship in selling their home in Indiana. So, you just wonder about what was, if there was a bigger, larger idea or plan behind all this or not. And so she signs over power of attorney, which, by the way, is not unusual. It's not unusual between a husband and a wife to sign over power of attorney in a real estate transaction. And we looked back, and she had done that in the past. I'd say over the last 20 some years, there is, documents that show that she had done that. But in this case, you just wonder, because the couple that bought their home in Indiana, they did some kind of a lease to own situation. We don't know exactly what it is, but that's kind of the inference of what we've been able to figure out. And so this couple took over their home in about May of 2019. And, we thought it was interesting, like, okay, if Suzanne gives power of attorney to him clearly a year before any of this happened, he wouldn't need her to anything to finish that deal whenever that was going to happen. So it's just one of many interesting things that have come up in the documents.
We're going to get Buddy. Hang on for a second. So, okay. So, what else do we want to touch on that? Where you're at there on that piece?
Yeah, no.
There was a whole bunch of Tell them about the old man, the elderly gentleman in the house.
Well, yeah, we did. We just mentioned that, but there's actually a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Another one that was interesting. So after Barry graduated Purdue with a landscaping degree, he went to work for a company out of Indianapolis. And from what we understand, it was described that Barry was kind of taken under the wing of this mentor, this business owner, and then
Can you bring him,
buddy?
Go.
And then when when a
Come
few
here, bud.
years later, when Barry went out on his own,
Bud.
he ended up taking
Come on.
a lot of customers from
Okay.
this first business as well.
This is the crew. Go ahead, hon.
So, well, that's, oh, he also knocked over his water bowl. His feet are wet. So this is our little rascal.
Yeah, he's Jack Russell. Finish your thought.
Yeah, so I did actually.
I was getting Buddy. Sorry, guys.
Getting a little distracted.
So this is our little rascal. If you're new to our channel, this is Buddy. He's he'll be 7, Jack Russell Terrier, and boy, he's just amazing, and we love him to death. Okay, so now I want to pick up then with this. It seemed like Barry had a lot of things in motion, and there was some friction between them. Suzanne wanted to stay in Indiana, and Barry wanted to just get out of there. And so there was really this, I mean, all couples have, yin and yang, but with them, it was like, we're out of here, you're coming kind of thing. And one of the things that was interesting in Lost Dreams, if you go to their house in that video, you see that he dismantled all of the security systems and the audio systems, meaning the communication from the gate. He had all these signs up about if you trespass, you'd be shot. And I think that just goes correlating into his post behavior after Suzanne had disappeared, where we see that behavior again displaying itself when Andy came up over the hill and Barry showed up there with trail cameras, a shotgun over his shoulder. And we all know that story.
When everybody else was looking for his wife.
Yeah.
That was his response.
Yeah, that was his response. And so again, we have to start looking at these behaviors kind of overlaying each other. Okay. So now that said, we now fast forward to the day they were moving. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead.
The day they were packing up and leaving their Indiana home, getting ready to move to Colorado.
Yep. The day they were leaving Indiana and coming to Salida. But first of all, we have to understand that these two environments where Suzanne loved her home, all of her friends are there, one of her closest friends, from college, they're all within a certain geographic region to where Suzanne, just felt that this was her home. Okay. And this is where she beat cancer. This is where this sweet woman, her whole demeanor just kind of evolved in that environment. And now you come to Salida, Colorado, and you see where the house was selected, number one. Okay. It is isolated, surrounded by mountains, no cell service. What struck you, hon?
It was tucked in the forest area, and in fact, very close to their home is the start of a national forest. It's remote, it's rugged, the roads are very steep with a really steep grade and drop-offs on the side. It's rugged. I mean, it's beautiful Colorado country. It's rugged, it's isolated, and the road to their home is a private road. So it's not, it's not something that a neighborhood of people are going to be constantly coming down and up on. So, it's remote. It's a complete stark contrast from Indiana and those open cornfields and that wide open plain where they lived all their lives.
Yep. And so now, what we're going to show you here is what their trailer looked like when they left Indiana. Dill, let's go ahead and let's tee this up. Go ahead and make it full screen. Okay, guys, this has never been seen before. I have been holding on to this, and now is the time to release this because he's in custody. Okay. It gives us an indication of a couple of things happening here. Okay. The first thing that we're seeing here is obviously this is a very dysfunctional thought process taking place. Okay. This is not like Tetris and putting things together. Okay. In fact, Suzanne was so embarrassed by all of this that she, wanted to do it differently. And Barry said, "No way. This is the way it's going." Go ahead, say what you're going to say.
Yeah, so this would have been taken at the end of 2018 in Indiana.
Yep.
Before they made their move to Colorado.
Right. This is basically giving you an idea now potentially of how quickly he wanted to get out of there. Okay. So let's go into the next photo, Dylan, to show and if you can zoom into this, this is the interior of his truck. Okay. And now look at all of the antlers there. Okay. And now there's two things to understand about this picture. Some of those are his, and some of those are what they call shed antlers, i.e. the animals shed their antlers, and people go collect them, and quite frankly, they can put them on pallets and they can make money off of that. In the Midwest, that is not an uncommon thing. Okay, but Barry had an obsession with this. Okay? He was actually taking it to another level. Evident of the fact, this is the front seat of his truck while leaving Indiana to come to Salida, Colorado. Okay, Suzanne could not get over this internally. She was like, from everything that we have learned, that she was, Barry, come on, this is, we need to get other stuff basically in this vehicle. Okay, but Barry could only think of one thing. Okay, one thing. And that was to get to, once he got here, he was then going to continue on and get to Wyoming, to a marketplace in Wyoming where he was going to make money. So let's show the picture of the marketplace if we can.
Yeah, by selling the antlers, by the way.
Right. So his whole motivation while moving, okay, his beloved wife from Indiana to Colorado was to make sure that he also could make money. Okay. And this is the marketplace in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where he made it over there. And at some point, I'm not sure of the sequence yet, if he dropped the trailer off and just left it, or if he unpacked it and made it then, shot over to Wyoming with a truck full of antlers.
Yeah, and it's our understanding that, so at this marketplace where the antlers are, there's different, craftsmen buy them and they make like those really pretty lamps and all different kinds of, art, pieces of art and whatever. So it's a common thing to purchase the antlers, and then people can do, make furniture or, decorative items out of it. But Barry didn't do that part of it. He just did the selling of it. Yeah.
Dill, go back to the trailer and leave us on here. Just put the trailer back up. So you see Barry's Bobcat there. Okay. This is this guy. Okay. That Bobcat is priority. Okay. And then you can see some of the moving boxes just thrown in there. Okay. And then you see in the middle, can you zoom in a little bit more into this, D-Man? Okay, that's as far as it goes. Look at the interior of the Bobcat. It's loaded with antlers. Okay, if everybody can see that, okay, those are antlers in there. And at the very end of the vehicle there, you can see I think he had like an ATV of some sort. We were told he's got his gun safe in the upper left-hand front corner. So these are all of the things that were precious to him. Okay? They weren't necessarily, Suzanne at this point, even at this point during this trip, was not a priority. Okay? It was all about him, and he drove all the way from Indiana to Salida, just like that, down the freeway. He strapped it all down, and he kept on going. Okay, so what is interesting for me anyway was the fact that he was such a organized individual. Okay? Yet towards 2018, when that picture was taken and he was leaving, here comes Bud. That's all right, let him be. When he was leaving, that he all of a sudden decided that, that was more important than anything else. Okay. So there you go. That's a little bit more about him. Okay. So let's move on. Dill, what else do we've got? What else we got coming up here? So let's go in order what we talked about a little bit ago. Okay, so we got the truck, the antlers. What's next? Okay, so this picture here, we got here the night before he was arrested. And so the first thing I wanted to do is try to take a look and see what kind of scenario was taking place at his house. So this is the day before he was arrested, and you can tell he's got that moving truck or trailer there ready to go. Okay, so as I drove by, snapped a couple of photographs, kept on going. Let's go to the next photo. Okay, so you can see that is attached to his other vehicle. Now he has 3 trucks. Remember in the motion during his hearing, one of the probable cause affidavits said that they were worried he was going to be a flight risk. Okay, well, this is the night before at his house. Now, the next picture you're going to see here was really interesting. Okay, notice the windows are open in his house. And as we drove by, and I was taking a picture of the trucks, and I didn't catch the windows initially, but when as we did drive by, I noticed that he was counter surveilling everything outside, and he was in the house there. We didn't take any pictures of him in the house. Obviously, that's not what we do here. Okay, but it was interesting that he had all the windows open, and then of course the next morning he is then taken down and arrested not far from his residence here. Let's go to the next. Okay, now this is also the Range Rover. There were 2 Range Rovers that belonged to the family. This one had a Purdue license plate on it. I think it belongs to one of the daughters, but what we haven't told people is there is a black one up in Indiana, and Barry sold it to a friend of his within 3 weeks of Suzanne's disappearance. Okay, we drove by it. We couldn't get in to get close enough to see it in terms of take a picture of it, but it is definitely up there, and you know who you are. Okay, hopefully you will get hold of the police and you will give them a statement if you haven't already. Please, they need that information to show his malice aforethought, okay, or guilty mind, which is part of the elements of a homicide. Okay, next, please. Okay, this is his house after his arrest. You can see that they did a search warrant or incident to his arrest, and the red tape there just keeps everybody out of the house after they had searched it, so there could be no other contamination. Okay. This is a close-up. It looks like they went in there and really got to it, which, good for CBI, good for FBI, good for Chaffee County Sheriff's Office. Okay. Yeah, those vehicles are not cheap. Those are very expensive vehicles, no doubt about it. Okay, so what else do we have, Karen?
Do you want to go to the video?
Sure. So yeah, we're gonna show you a couple of things once they got here, and just kind of give you a little lay of the land here in Salida, which is a absolutely fantastic, gorgeous area, no question about it. But I think it was a little different than what Suzanne was used to. But I'll let you be that judge because you know better than I do. Okay, so Dill, let's play the video. And Karen, tell us what we're seeing here.
So this is downtown Salida, Colorado. It's a beautiful town. So Salida is about 7,000 feet up, high elevation, and you've got the snow-capped mountains behind it. It's just gorgeous. The downtown, this is what you're looking at. Just really great, cute, clean, a lot of restaurants, shops, breweries. And the really cool thing about Salida is there's this gorgeous river that runs through it. And people kayak there and can walk. And it's just, there's a lot of benches for people and for families and people to hang out. And, you know, this is like an old mining town, Old West mining town feel. And it's got a great vibe, very laid back. It's, you know, it's that mountain, Colorado mountain
Amazing
vibe.
pizza there. Stop right there for a sec, Dill. That's Amika's Pizza. This pizza's off the hook.
It was excellent.
Yeah, it's off the hook. Go ahead.
We ate a lot of pizza since we've been here, but we sort of figured we need to.
Okay.
So yeah, so the downtown is really just really cute. A lot of shops. Speaking of shops in the downtown Salida, we went by the bike shop.
Yes, we
Why don't
did.
you talk about that one, the Salida bike?
Yep. So Salida bike is, remember there was information, there were 2 bicycles. It is right down the street here, and I hope we caught it in
I'm
this
not
particular
sure if
video.
it's on this street or not, but just you can keep
Yeah.
even if it's not.
And
just keep talking about that.
yeah, this is where, you know, Barry somehow either quote, you know, brought a bike or bought a bike for part, or, you know, something, okay, stop, Dill, or something to that effect. Okay, so that kind of gives you a little vibe. Those of you from our friends in California, I would describe it as Encinitas in the mountains.
Put in the mountains.
Put in the mountains. Yep. Same vibe. Very cool people. Very laid back. I can see why Suzanne could make friends in this town and, you know, just kind of mold in. But quite frankly, you know, Barry just stuck out like, you know, he just didn't fit. That was pretty interesting. So, okay. So the next piece that we're going to show you is, I went to the bicycle, where the bike was, right? Figuring, you know, okay, I need to see what Andy was talking about, which, you know, over the last, you know, 8-9 months here, that Mike and I, and shout out to Mike at PE over there. Love you like my brother. Many amazing pieces of information we started plugging together after watching Tyson's video. Anyway, I had to go where this bicycle was. Okay?
And let's just set it up, just so if people don't remember.
Yep.
So when Suzanne was reported missing on Mother's Day, one of the stories that came out right away was that her bike was missing, and that it was Barry who said maybe she went on a bike ride. And so why don't you describe how far away the spot is from their house? I mean, people know it, but remind them of how close it is.
Yeah, it's less than 0.5 of a mile. Okay, from their house. And hey, Duty Ron, another brother who's done an amazing job. If you guys are not subscribing to his channel yet, please get over there and hit that button on him. Love you to death. Thank you. So, but what was really fascinating when we got there and when we stood there, and many of you have already been there and you already have this knowledge, and we appreciate that. But, you know, I'd not been there. I'd only seen it on videos like everybody else. But when I got there, man, I got to tell you, it was pretty interesting from, you know, my perspective. So let's go ahead and D-Man, let's show them what we've got going here. So this is where the bicycle was found. You can see this is really steep, and this is probably 35 feet maybe from the top to here. And this is the item that was placed here by somebody. We don't know who. It sounds like this was an item that was in front of Barry's house, and that in memory of a loving mother, belonged to Suzanne as one of her cherished items on the death of her mother. But the more I look at this now, and the fact that this idea of a mountain lion, or, you know, a tiger or whatever it was, first of all, as we learned a long time ago, large cats like that move their prey down. So if we go down here, the first thing the cat's going to run into is barbed wire. Okay, let's stop right there, Dill. Okay, guys, now this was fascinating. Okay, so remember the mountain lion story, right? Okay, well, what we learned, obviously, when Mike got hold of the Mountain Lion Association, brought them in, and those experts said, well, they move their prey down. Okay, well, what was fascinating is right where I'm pointing there, that's all barbed wire. Okay, so immediately that story should have been caught immediately, because that mountain lion would have had that obstacle to maneuver with Suzanne's body to take her down to the river. Okay, so that in of itself just made no sense almost immediately. This is one of the things I think that stuck with Andy. Okay, where he was also standing there, where I'm standing in this particular video, and processing almost immediately the same thing that everybody came to recognize that was kind of a bogus story. So that said, and by the way, thank you everybody for your kind donations tonight. If you're donating, I want to acknowledge you and thank you for your kindness.
We are grateful for your support and your donations and your wonderful comments. It's great. It's hard for me not being in the chat tonight doing this. So it's wonderful. Thank you all.
We've got Buddy in the background
causing a stir back
who's decided to go full Jack Russell on us. And come here, Bud. Let's take him up here again. All right. So that said, okay, Bud, can you do me a favor? Can you hang on for a minute on YouTube? Okay. There you go. All right. So, Dill, let's continue on with what we've got going on here at the bicycle
and this barbed wire has been here, I can tell you, for quite some time. So that's the first problem that the cat's got, allegedly, to move a body. Okay? So that story in of itself absolutely makes no sense, and was this is me standing here now. For me, it verifies it 1,000%. And then if you look at the steepness of this terrain, if she would have come off of that and hit, the first thing she would have hit is this series of rocks. And there potentially could have been some very serious damage to the body. And now we look around then and say, okay, is there evidence of any type of wounds or anything, blood, etc.? Now I know it's been a year, so I can't really answer that being out here today. But I think there's when the police got here the very first day, they locked this down pretty quickly. So anyway, that's the first piece of this puzzle for him.
Yeah. So this is now the item that belonged to Suzanne. It looked like the statue was in the house, or excuse me, outside the house, and the small disc there was an item given to her by her mother at the death of her mother. Okay? And we don't know who put that there. There's speculation or rumor that it could have been the girls, and it could very well be. But what's more important as well to consider is the fact that that was the most precious item for Suzanne that really gave the full her memory about her mom, and the fact that it was also tossed away almost. I mean, what's a good way of describing that?
It's left in a public area that anybody could just come by and do whatever. And it's there's this idea of feeling like it's discarded.
Yeah. Like
what we have seen of the pattern of all the other things that we know Barry has done in the last year.
Yeah.
And this, you hear that this belonged to her mother. She held that was just a token, and it was something so precious to her. And now it's sitting out in the public. I mean, in a public area,
yeah.
exposed, and I'm sure you all were struck the way we were struck when we heard that.
Yeah, it's almost as if he's trying to build empathy around himself versus empathy around Suzanne, because he just discarded that item that belonged to her. And what was interesting, what we found out also about his personality, is you don't break up with Barry Morphew. If you were a girl in Indiana, what did we learn about that from your perspective as a woman?
So Barry always had a girl with him. Everybody shared with us, and he was the one that was going to decide if they were going to break up. This is from his longtime friends, not the other way around.
Yeah. So, he was very much controlling every dynamic of his persona. Go ahead, Dill. Let's keep going.
And then when that
he's
bike
erasing
was
Suzanne. Earthquake.
The deception started. So standing here, I have to say, I get a sense of what Andy meant when he made the comment, there's no way that bicycle wasn't thrown down there. I have to agree 100%. Actually, 1,000% now standing here.
Yeah, so now what this is showing us going up, so this is the first river, the Arkansas River, or a piece of it. And then so we're headed up towards their house, driving up the 225. For those of you who are not familiar, well, I wasn't familiar with it. And so we're headed up towards the top of the hill, where that first bridge that we just crossed over is just about 5 to 7/10 of a mile from their driveway up at the top of the hill. And by the way, this is a public road. It is not private property. So I'm, making sure we're within the rules. This is the second bridge that you go over. And then you go right up the hill here. And this is the guest house that Andy and everybody stayed at the first 4 days during all of the searching, etc. This is also the area where Barry was staying. His house is just behind that, and this is coming back down. Okay, so let's stop it right. Yep, that's fine. Stop. Okay, that's their driveway. And if you were to follow that driveway all around, which I did not, okay, you would come to their house. Now, what's fascinating about this, we learned that Barry, while the FBI had his house, searching it for evidence, he wanted to take friends underneath the tape and go up on the mountain you see to the right there and surveil the FBI, CBI, and the sheriff's department processing his house. Again, that is, a guilty mind, or at least it gives you behavioral evidence towards that. And so that one of the friends that he asked said, "No way, dude. I am not going to cross that line."
And again, it's very odd and strange when somebody's wife is missing. If you're not focused on that, not trying to help the authorities, and now you want to counter surveil what the authorities are doing.
Yeah, he's paranoid as all get out for obvious reasons at this point, because they're getting close within sight of the circle. But come lay down. Come here. Good boy. Okay, so let's keep moving. And hon, what struck you in this particular shot while we were out there?
Well, now the guest house is next door to their house, but they did not own that home.
Right.
So let's be clear about that.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, beautiful and remote, and very isolated up there.
Yeah, very isolated.
Very isolated. So
the next piece that we're going to show you is something that I've kept very close to the chest, and I'm going to continue to do that. But so I interviewed somebody about 6 months ago, who told me he had dated Mallory as a teenager. And at some point, Barry caught them together. And he approached this young man and basically, confronted him and said, did you touch my daughter?
Now, this was back in Indiana.
In Indiana, right.
At their old house.
Yep, years ago.
With their teenage daughter.
Years ago. Right. Okay, so long story short, what I'm going to share with you, I already know has been shared with the authorities because they interviewed this person. But what I learned was Barry had threatened this young man that if he found out that he in any way, shape, or form had, violated the rules of morality with his daughter, that he was going to bury him underneath a tree.
Is that a quote?
That's a quote. Okay. So that said, I started thinking, wow, maybe this is a scenario where, this could be maybe a possibility. So as a homicide guy, retired homicide guy, but still working with the Cold Case Foundation, solving homicides with actively law enforcement agencies across the country. I mean, we just did a case in Siberia recently. That said, my detective or my investigative eye kicked in my brain, and I said, "Wow, that maybe we should start, looking around." Okay. Well, we discovered some other information. Interviewed some folks here in Colorado, and they also shared with us additional information that got us to thinking that maybe there are some trees involved here. Okay, so when you go watch the Dreams, Lost Dreams video again, you're going to now understand some of the correlating thought processes that I was trying to set into motion. Now, remember, I made that before he was arrested, so I didn't want to completely tip my hat and interfere with anything the authorities were, potentially still, processing. So that said, remember Andy, while here, also had some cadaver dogs with him, and Mike and I and others had given him, some clarity of focus on some geographic regions, and he had some areas that, he was determined, to go search. But one of them, as they were coming down the hills, the two of the dogs hit on a particular tree. Okay, I'm going to show you that tree. Okay, and I've been told things have been processed, and so, we're just hoping that, this particular tree has been processed by the authorities. It's got now some blue stones around it. So I know Gonzo here in Salida, that look maybe more of your style, brother. And if it is, then, God bless you. Okay. But so let's go ahead and show that tree, Dylan. So I'm standing here at a tree where a cadaver dog hit. And you'll notice these little off-colored rocks are here. Okay. I don't know about you, but that certainly does look unusual. And you'll notice the grass around it appears to be dying. It's going to be real interesting. It looks like the tree may be having some discoloration. Tree may be having discoloration. I'm not sure yet. But this certainly doesn't look like it's processed. It's my understanding that Barry planted this tree. So we'll see. So if you look at this tree down in the valley there, it is a short. How far is it from his house? Not far.
Not far.
It's within his control. Let me say that. Okay. And now we have to understand something. He is a landscaper and he's planted many trees. Okay. I was looking specifically for 5 trees. Okay. And we came into some information that Mike and I shared with the authorities. I cannot share it tonight for the integrity of the investigation. But I'm hoping that if in fact there were other situations or trees that the authorities are aware of it and on top of it. Okay. So the next thing we wanted to do is kind of figure out what he was doing down at the Poncha Springs market. So we went down there. We interviewed the clerk there. Honey, what do you want to say?
Well, let's set that up again. Let's remember that after when she was missing, talk about how the bike helmet and the note and Barry's actions.
Okay.
So just let's set that stage for everybody.
Okay.
Before we play it.
So at one point on a Tuesday, so Suzanne goes, I think her demise was either the day before, either the 8th or the 9th of May. I really think he had a good amount of time to do what he needed to do. And we'll find that out in the affidavit, okay? But some serious communication stopped with family members and friends that, the authorities have. And so it was pretty clear that, her demise was probably early on, okay? And he also, in one of his statements to the police, said that they had got into a fight, okay?
On Friday. That Friday.
A pretty extensive argument, okay? So that said, now I went down and I talked to the gal at the who was on duty the day that Barry showed up. So Barry shows up outside of Ponchas Market. He's looking for, quote, a baby blue helmet, okay, and also other items that belong to his wife that is missing. Okay, now this is where he leaves the note, okay, and leaves it on the clerk. Okay, she still has that note. She turned it over, a picture of it, to the authorities. The sad part is, though they had a video management system, that it sounds like it was recorded over. So they didn't have the evidence to get him actually in the store. All they have is a witness testimony that he was in the store, and of course, the note. So that's who we're going to show you here now. So go ahead, Dill. Yeah, Eric said with all due respect, he doesn't think he hit her. Okay, I'm with you.
Colorado with Tiffany. And Tiffany, you were here the day that Barry came in, correct?
Yep.
Hey, tell everybody what you remember about that day.
Well, we were already closed. He came into the store, or he knocked on the door.
Was he outside at first?
Yeah, he was outside first, and he came to the door, knocked on it, and the kid who was working let him in. And he was kind of looking over at the trash can and asking if he found a blue helmet in there. They started to tell him about how his wife was missing and who he was, and then they kind of moved over to the counter, and he started writing a description of her, or what was a description, but it was more just talking about what she was wearing, the helmet and the bike. And so he didn't say anything about what color her eyes were.
What did you say she was wearing?
It was a blue bike helmet, and there was a biker clothing. That was about as descriptive as it was. That was it.
And what was his demeanor?
He kind of seemed a little, to me, he seemed more, he wasn't as clean cut as he usually was, you know what I mean? He seemed tired. He seemed maybe he was out looking for her or something, I don't know, but.
So he looked tired?
They looked tired. He looked like maybe he'd been working or something all day,
Sure.
or,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So from yesterday, what you found out after he was arrested, what's your thoughts?
It's about time, but I just felt I don't know. I just hope there's enough to get him, convicted on it, pretty much.
Has he come into the store any time between the first time you saw him and the last time?
Not that I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a photograph of the note, right?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Would you share that with me?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can get it for you.
And then, so would you take us the trash can? You said he was hanging out. You said he was hanging out around the trash cans.
Yeah, and he was more at the front door, and he was looking. He was mainly directing his question to that trash can.
Okay.
Did you guys find a trash can, or did you find a helmet in the trash can? So
he was basically wanting to know if you guys had looked into the trash can to find a baby blue.
Yeah, and I'm we would just throw it in the trash, we wouldn't have looked through it.
Right.
That was a weird thing. So
Did you think you said that was weird? Did you
yeah,
think that was
oh yeah,
okay?
it was just a weird situation because like when he came in, we were closed, and I was more mad because he let somebody inside the building, you know. So, but I watched the
That was
whole
other
thing.
employee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the store was closed. He knocks on the door, right?
Oh, he had told us too. That day, so that was 2 days later. He had already said that he was gonna put out a $200,000 reward for her. That was just 2 days right after, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he came in twice.
No, this is the same time. He had told him, he's like, me and my daughter are making posters, and we're making a $100,000 reward is what it was.
Okay.
That was before the other money came into play. So
Okay. And did the daughters come down with the posters?
I never seen them.
Did anybody come down with posters?
You know, some ladies did. I don't know who they were. They weren't even really associated with them, I don't think. But it's not the one that's on our wall right now. Like the cops, the FBI came in and replaced the one with the reward on it and put that one up. That doesn't have the reward on
Oh,
it.
so they took that one.
They took the reward one off. Yeah.
They probably took that photo.
And that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was like months ago when they did that. So
And there was videotape at the time.
there was, we had videotape. Like we have them outside and everything, and they didn't come and talk to us enough on time. It was all erased, off of our computer. So yeah.
Yeah, that happened.
They didn't come in here for like a month after that. So
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think would be important to share?
not that I could really think of. There's just so much, anyways. But I'm sure.
Say anything to the family?
I just feel bad for you guys, and sorry that it happened like that. And your mom, she'll be really missed.
Tina, you are a really good person.
Thank you.
Seriously, for stepping out.
I tried.
It's necessary. You're a
Thank you.
good person.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for taking your time.
Of course, it's great meeting
Give me a
you.
buzz.
I know. I was glad to meet you. And I was like,
So she's absolutely fantastic, that young lady. She was so kind, and of course, she had given her statement earlier on. I talked to her the first time probably about 8 months ago, and of course, that was critical information early on in the investigation. So we wanted to hold that close to the chest here. But what was fascinating about that, so Barry's outside, kind of shuffling around, looking through the trash can, at least, out there with the trash can. There's another young man that was working. It was 5 o'clock on Tuesday. So this would have been Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, a couple days later. He's looking for his wife, knocks on the window or the door. The kid opens the door, and she's the manager. And he immediately starts saying, "Hey, have you guys found a baby blue bicycle helmet outside in the trash?" Okay. And so that kind of struck, the manager, odd, and she kind of stepped in and said, what? Okay. And, it just started off from there. And that's where he wrote the infamous note, left it on the counter, did not describe Suzanne in any way, shape, or form. He just said, "Yeah, I'm looking for all these items," and they were all bicycle items. Go ahead.
And I want to pick your brain for a minute.
Yeah, go.
So from an investigative law enforcement perspective, when the FBI listened to her story, listened to that, hearing and knowing all the evidence, what they know,
Right.
What does a homicide investigator think hearing that piece of the story? What is one to think of the husband 2 days later doing all this? The most shocking thing to us lay people is, what? You didn't leave a description of your wife?
Yep.
No height, weight, eye color, biker clothing, right?
Yep.
And we know what it sounds like, but what do you think the FBI was thinking when they heard that?
I think they're immediately going, he's covering his tracks. He's trying to cover his tracks, create an alibi. And let me give you a real specific behavior that's going to just all of a sudden you're going to have an aha moment, I hope. Okay. The statue for Suzanne that most recently Lauren Sharp found, or whoever found it. I don't know who found it. Forgive me. Okay. But the fact that it just appeared, okay, that would be from a behavioral analysis aspect, a signal of transferred behavior in relationship to empathy. Okay. So what he's doing here is he's looking for, quote, the clothing potentially, but here's his problem. Okay. He allegedly left her at 5 o'clock in the morning. And the last time I checked, I don't think women go to sleep, and I'll ask you, have you ever fallen asleep with a bicycle outfit on,
Never.
a helmet and everything? Okay.
Never happens.
Okay. So there you go. Okay. So somehow, he has all of this, narrative that he's starting to play out here. Remember, he introduced the bike through the neighbor. Okay. He introduced the bike ride, the theories of the lion, or the tiger, whatever we want to call it. And by the way, I talked in Lost Dreams, and some folks, are like, well, my mascot was this or that. Okay, we're not talking about a mascot. Okay, we're talking about layers of familiarity. Okay, and so if he had a thought process, maybe a premeditation process here, if he was already thinking about these other layers that he has to put into motion, okay. Well, this bike helmet scenario down at that simple little market, which is about 7 miles from his house, by the way.
Yeah, it's not close. It's
not
a 7
close.
mile long stretch of a drive.
Yeah, he had a drive to get there. So the fact that he went and looking for this as to answer your question from an investigative process, we would have had 10 sheets of paper, and I would have written up on the board, not good. Okay, and we would have put that process together. By the way, one simple side note: we want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Don't leave. We're gonna get into Larry Millete and Maya and her case. Okay, we're gonna do a deep dive into that. And Larry, let me tell you, we're coming. Okay, you're next. Okay, I'm just gonna give you a heads up. Okay, so that said. We're also this young lady here. I didn't answer your calls for a whole year, huh?
Nope, it did not. We can talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll save
but
that
I
one.
Deleted all of her messages because she was a journalist, and
I was a crime reporter
I didn't
working
no way
in
I
the
wanted to talk
town
to her. Forget it.
where he was a homicide detective, and,
Yep.
and he had all the big cases, and he would never return my phone call. So
Okay. All right, I don't want to digress.
We'll leave that. Okay.
She's kicking me under the table.
Let's keep going.
Go ahead. Okay, so what do we got next, Dale? Where are we at? Let's go by the house. Okay, so somebody said, is the Bobcat back up in Indiana? The answer is no. The Bobcat is back here. Okay, now this is the day of his arrest.
That's back at Barry's house.
Back at Barry's house.
Condo,
this was within maybe 2 hours after I got off that live stream. I went back over to his house. And then we went back, and the Bobcat, the trailer, everything is back, and I've actually got pictures of that. So just so you know, the Bobcat in Indiana is a second Bobcat that he rented in Indiana. So the one that's up there, you're correct, there is a Bobcat up there, but it's not his prized possession. He has always kept that with him. He was working on an amphitheater up in Indiana. And that was, he's been going back and forth to his mom's house up there, and that's another interesting thing. What are the names of the streets that this guy chose?
Well, the home that his mother lives on in Indiana, is Buck Drive.
Buck Drive.
Of course, we know they lived on Puma Path.
Puma Path.
Here in Salida.
Yeah. Was there a third one? Where his parents were? Wasn't that that was an animal too, wasn't it?
It could have been.
Okay.
We'll have to go back.
We got to check our notes on that one. Okay, Dill, let's keep going on that last piece there.
That's it.
Oh, is that it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Can you get that? If you can kind of tee up that photograph of the Bobcat back at the house, if we still have it, or video. If you want to search for it. Okay, so with that, let's take a couple of questions, and then we're going to dive into Larry.
Maya's case.
And Larry. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. And by the way, thank you so much for being here tonight. The day before Mother's Day with my sweet wife. This is the first time she's ever gotten before the camera, meaning Mother's Day tomorrow for Suzanne, the 10th, the anniversary, and today's Mom's Day. God bless each of you moms out there. Thank you for keeping guys like, all of us guys in line. We can't do it without you. I lost my mom in 1984. She passed away with breast cancer. So, God bless all of you and you guys out there. If you're watching us, if you've not told your wife that you love them and you're not told your mom that you love her, you better tell her that you love her and that you adore her. Okay. Today's a good day to do that. Okay, guys.
And it's another great day to remember these two women, who are victims, and, their stories are, what is it? Multiply. How many other women out there, are missing right now?
Yeah.
Victim, and so these are just a couple of the ones that, of course, all of us are all following right now. And, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to see justice and see a resolution for this. So thank you all for being along on the journey with us as we dive into these cases. We're just one of many other YouTube channels out there doing the same thing. And we all know that it's this community effort of just coming together, and everybody takes a different piece to do it. And you know what? Justice is done. With Suzanne's case, of course, her body hasn't been found. That's the next piece.
Yep.
We've got all the court proceedings, of course, with Barry. And, we'll all be staying tuned on that one. With Maya Millete, your heart goes out to her 3 children.
Yep.
And, they're who are young. And, it's a sad day for them, this Mother's Day.
Yeah, definitely. And all of us here, we can play a role. It's a very minutiae role, but at the same time, we can play a role, and we can keep continuing to support these wonderful people. And, I know I see things about Echo Lloyd. Yes, she's still missing. Shout out to her family. If anybody knows information about Echo, please, contact the authorities. Okay. The girlfriend, Barry's girlfriend, by the way, there were 2 of them. Okay. And, I will give, they're not out in the public yet. I'm not going to do that personally. Other people can do that. I can tell you they do exist. And I can tell you one of them kind of wised up and quickly got away from him. The other stuck to him. Now, here's a question, though, in my mind still, though, is did they use her to kind of get close to him and flip him? Okay. Well, we'll know that soon enough. There are also a couple of other employees close to him that we all know who they are. One of them got a golf membership paid by Barry for this person, and so that's interesting in and of itself. Hopefully, that individual will come forward with some information and help us find where Suzanne is. Okay. So there's a lot going on still. This is a fluid, active investigation. Okay. So is Maya's case. So let's talk about Maya. Mary Chris and Richard. Chris is Maya's sister. Richard is her husband. Salt of the earth, these people. These are amazing people. I got to tell you, San Diego, you guys down there, Chula Vista, all of her friends, family, God bless you. Okay, we're going to start picking up a lot more on Mr. Larry here to find out, what's going on down there. Karen, what do you want to say?
Let's do a quick recap for people if with Maya's case, if you're not familiar. Maya Millete was last seen Thursday, January 7th. Her husband Larry told police that they had a fight that night. We also learned that Maya had reached out to a divorce attorney on that day as well.
Well, just before. Yep.
Or just before.
Mm-hmm.
And then most recently, everybody found out about the security camera footage that had picked up loud gunshots, 8 gunshots. Is that right?
Yep.
That were heard throughout the whole neighborhood.
Yep.
We've all heard that. And then Friday, the January 8th, so the next day, Her husband Larry went to the beach for 12 hours. This is what he said, with his 4-year-old son, leaving the other two kids at home alone. He took the family's Lexus car, and he reportedly left his cell phone behind. That was that Friday. So on January 10th, Sunday, Maya's family came over, right? That they spoke with Larry, and they said that in addition to obviously not knowing where Maya was, they said the garage smelled like bleach, and it had bath mats hanging over the trash cans drying out.
Yep.
So, and that was the day she was officially reported missing, when her family members, Maya's own family, showed up at the house. The next day, January 11th, police started the search. And that's when they entered the home and talked to Larry and started the investigation. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, yep. And go ahead, keep going.
2 days later, on January 13th, search parties started looking for Maya. And about a week later, they the family set up a GoFundMe account to help in the search, with costs in the search. Now, the police served the first search warrant at Maya and Larry's home on January 23rd. And we know that they took that black Lexus, the family SUV that had been there. Mm-hmm. On February 5th, there was a rally for Maya. So this is when we start to see her family, friends in the community really started to rally together to ask questions at the police department of the investigation. That's also when we saw her husband, Larry, who had previously been cooperative with police. That's when he stopped becoming cooperative and shut down completely.
And with the family.
And with
the rest
her
of the
family.
He started isolating behaviors. Go ahead.
That was back in February. So April 1st, Chula Vista Police Department, investigating this case, they served a search warrant at Larry's aunt and uncle's house.
Yep.
And they recovered
Ricky and Kathy.
They seized guns, weapons, and some other evidence from what we know.
That was in the search warrant affidavit that they were looking for, weapons of some sort. Now this ties into the gunshots. Okay, that potentially, that they had knowledge of. So go ahead without compromising anything. Go ahead.
And then April 17th, there was a search in the desert for Maya. More than 100 volunteers came to search for her. Yep. And April 21st, Chula Vista PD, they started officially, at least with the public, they said they're starting to work with FBI, District Attorney's Office, and the NCIS in the case.
That's Naval Criminal Investigative Services.
Yeah. And then on Friday, just a couple days ago, police served another search warrant, as we all know, at the Millete home that would have been the second search warrant at their home. Yep. And do we know what was taken? Do we know any evidence?
Yeah, this was just Friday.
That's right.
So Chula Vista did another search warrant. I will tell you this, okay, that they went in there blazing, for lack of a better term. They processed that home and removed items of evidence. I am aware what they are. I'm not going to, I don't want to jeopardize the case, so I'm not going to reveal what they are. However, I can tell you this, okay, first sources, okay, that this case, all of us, okay, at some point, they're going to cross the T's and dot the I's, okay? And, one of the things we have to keep into mind here, okay, is we still not only have a grieving sister, a grieving brother-in-law, grieving siblings, okay, but we have an active, fluid investigation. It's our responsibility, okay, as not only a YouTube community, but just citizens at large, okay, to let them do their thing, okay. I want to ask you, please, as a YouTube community, as well as, just a general community, they got stuff, okay, and it's going to fall into place, okay. So now what was fascinating and what has been fascinating is if we were to take a look at Larry Millete and then overlay that on Barry Morphew, okay, you have two personalities that are not necessarily cut from the same cloth, because Barry, his thing was a hunter, Okay. But you have Larry in his earlier days, he was a gangbanger. Okay. Now, and he also got in trouble with the law as a juvenile. He stabbed somebody as a juvenile. So this guy has his own path. Okay. And I'm going to go into that path for you. Okay. So, Larry, if you're listening, okay, love to sit down with you. I love to talk to you, love to meet with you. But I'm going to learn a lot about you. Okay. Trust me. And so at some point, if you decide to not lawyer up, which you have already, and I totally understand that, okay, give me a call. I'm not hard to get hold of. I'd love to talk to you. Okay. So go ahead.
I think it's important to note that with Maya's case, and certainly with Suzanne Morphew's case, with Maya's case, it was what a wonderful family that she came from, that where she has advocates. Advocates make all the difference. We all know that. You all know that. And on Friday, it was a very positive step in the right direction that her family members felt. They've been in limbo for a number of months. They haven't gotten as much information as I think they would want. And they were very happy to see that police are taking further steps, and really attribute that to the advocates of getting Maya's name out there, getting her case out there, getting all of us to talk about it, and and really another one of these cases has international interest. And I know that the family is happy with this step. And of course, obviously, they want it to lead to more steps into finding Maya. Mm-hmm. But Friday was a good day for them.
Friday was a good day for them. Friday was a great day. And Mary Crest Richard, rest assured that the interview room, we love your family. We've obviously we've met you. We know who you guys are, and we're going to help you. Okay, just as you've asked us in the past, when I make a commitment, and my wife will tell you that I don't let go, do I?
You don't.
I've not let go, but that's a good thing, especially for families who need a voice. Okay, and if we can help you get that voice and keep Maya out front, and let the authorities do what they need to do. Okay, I want to let you know that there are some really great people involved in this. I know there's other agencies involved. I know Summer's office down there. I know Summer personally. Okay, and
tell people who Summer is.
Oh, Summer Steffens, the DA down in San Diego. Okay, the next step here though is we're going to help you. Okay, and then simultaneously, let's make sure that we bring justice where it belongs. There is some other additional information coming out. Shout out to Billy Little. I mean, you're an absolute bulldog, brother. I love you. And I know your heart and your intent is 100% pure, and you have done amazing work down there. In fact, probably 90% of everything that's flowing is a direct result of your help for that wonderful family. And I know you're a great man and a great warrior. A lot of people don't know this guy, but at some point you will. He's a good man, and his heart's in the right place. So what we need to do now, collectively as a YouTube community for Maya, okay? The question is, what steps can we take, and how can we influence for the positive any additional information coming forward for the investigators so they can follow up on it and connect those dots, okay? The first thing I want to say is about both of these cases, Suzanne and Maya. If you have information about Suzanne's case, call the authorities, please. Barry's in custody. Now is the time for additional evidence to come forward. Please call them. Okay? Same with Maya's case. If you know something, saw something, or understand something, and it may be just a minutia piece, call the authorities. Okay. I know personally there's been some frustration because, it appears that the investigation has, been kind of dragging its feet. Okay. Well, Friday's a good example now of being, like you mentioned, it's a great way to put it, honey, is this case now is going to pick up momentum, and I can assure you, people are going to be looking over their shoulders. Okay, so and not necessarily only one person. Okay, there could be multiple people looking over your shoulders. Okay, if you're one of those other people, okay, don't risk it. Okay, now is the time to step up and lay it out, because if the authorities tell your story, okay, you're not going to like the story. Okay? And you'll remember this particular broadcast one day. You may watch it on your on the TV, wherever that's going to be. That said, okay, if you have information, provide it. The second piece of this, okay, we need to keep supporting this sweet family and keep her name out there. Okay, this family neans answers. Okay, they need communication. Okay, and I hope I'm going to be able to facilitate some of that. I can assure you that if I'm asked, I will try without a doubt. I'm going to be working now hand in hand, hopefully with the family, even further behind the scenes. But more importantly, you, the public, who have been just doing an absolutely amazing job, okay, and an amazing job in keeping Maya's out front. All the searching that you've been doing, keep it up, okay? Don't lose faith. Okay? Just keep going. What do you want to say, hon? Anything?
No, I just agree. Yeah, I agree with all of it. And we've been keeping, as a group, community, keeping Maya's name out there. We need to continue to do it. And, this is just one small way that we can do that. Her family deserves answers and justice. And we as a community are strong and mighty. And we're seeing that over and over again.
And one of the questions that keeps popping up, I'm looking through the chat here, is why haven't they removed the children? Okay, so that's a delicate walk, right? I think we all have our ideas of what the potential dangers are here. However, on the other side, they have grandparents that the courts would obviously have to take into consideration on both sides of the coin. Okay. More importantly, at this point, I don't know, the totality of what they have or what they don't have. I can tell you this, based on what I do know since Friday. Okay. It's a lot more than they had Thursday. Okay. So as a result of that, maybe we'll start seeing some movement there with the children at hand. We have to be very sensitive about whether or not they could be injured or even disengaged from father or dad or the rest of the other family. And that I guess is another plea to the opposite side of the family. Remember, a long time ago, when I was with Mike at PE, we were very sensitive to both sides of the coin. Remember, it was Barry who's been arrested and charged with the death of Suzanne. Okay, it's not his mother. It wasn't his father. Okay, and it's not his sisters or the girls. Okay, it's the same thing in this situation. If Larry is potentially the suspect that ultimately gets arrested and for Maya's demise, okay, then it's not the families. Okay, it's that individual making those choices. So we have to be sensitive to that and be careful and be responsible to make sure that we don't put those children in any more danger by continually raising that flag. Okay, so let's think through that a little bit more. I just want to let you know, though, that Karen and I, we did our careers in San Diego County. I mean, she initially started with the LA Times down there, and then some other things with some of the dailies, and so we know the people that are down there, okay? And I can assure you they are full speed ahead on this case, and it's going to be rapid. Okay, so let's cross our fingers there. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I fully agree.
Okay.
What else do we want to cover? You want to take a couple questions?
Yeah, let's if you have some questions, let's go ahead and put them up, Dylan. What do you've got here for us? And by the way, if you're new to our channel, we want to thank you. We're just we are traveling. We live in an airstream. Go figure. Okay, but we made a commitment to help families, and then so that's what we're doing. We start at the interview room, and we're going to do that. We thank you all so much for your consideration and your donations. You're very kind,
and we're grateful for people who become members and just being here tonight with us.
Yeah.
Subscribing, that's free. That's
and
wonderful.
If you can't become a member, that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, just be here with us
and we're grateful for that.
In this community. I'm here to tell you we have the most amazing mods.
They are awesome.
From Sophie to G to Mimi. I'm just
Maui girl,
G. Aloha. Okay, we're going to go down the list here. Let me go back and find everybody to make sure.
J2.
This is a very classy channel. We're not diving into speculation and all this other stuff. And our mods, I've given them marching orders. If it gets too crazy, just boot them, because these cases that we talk about are real families. We're not doing this YouTube channel thing because we're just looking for people to say, look at them. Okay, no, we're here to help families. Okay, and that means we have to be respectful of what that means. Okay, does Larry have a job? Yes, he actually had to go back to work. And if you look at the video or the one video I did with his car on the thumbnail, that's his vehicle at his place of employment. So there you go. Please explain the freezer. I'm just coming to Maya's case. So there was a freezer that ended up over Uncle Ricky's house, and Billy Little took a picture of it and provided that to the authorities. They're right now, taking a look at all of those angles. So that's how the freezer ended up over there. And so, yes, there is a freezer involved. Why NCIC? Are they a military family? Great question. So Maya worked for 32nd Street, and she worked down at the military installation. So there was some information about some other folks there. And so as a result of that, because it is on the military installation, NCIS would be involved naturally. Okay. What about the reports about 4 months ago that said Barry had lawyered up? Is that not true? Because he has no return. Yeah, you know what? It's
we haven't found that.
We haven't found an attorney. Yeah. So now he lawyered up. We know because Linda Stanley out here said he lawyered up. So we know for a fact that he did. But I also know in his first interview where he laid out the Suzanne missing to the authorities, that he said they got into a pretty what's the best way to describe it? Knockdown, drag out fight.
They got in a big fight.
They got in a big fight, according to him. Okay, we can't hear her voice right now, but according to him, that was his cover play. So we'll see how that plays out. Bye, buddy, a special treat. Aiden, thank you so much. He's asleep over here now.
Finally.
He's a little rascal. Who is Billy? Billy is the family attorney for Mary Chris and Richard, and he's speaking in behalf of Maya's for her voice. Okay, with her family. He's a great man. I've heard someone say that the previous day say there was not enough to charge Barry. Do you believe there's enough now to charge him? I know you can't disclose much, but just curious. So I think what the DA has right now, and we're going to find this out specifically in the arrest affidavit. Okay. I would call this a circumstantial case. Okay? And remember, I give the analogy of, a wet footprints leaving a swimming pool going into the house. Okay. So what they're going to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, okay, is it possible that a human being made those wet footprints going into the house? If a jury believes that, yes, it could have been a human being that made those wet footprints and not some guy with a stick with a foot on it and stomping it on the concrete, okay, then that's a reasonable, beyond a reasonable doubt, and they could convict him in a circumstance. Now, the other piece of this, okay, we may find out They may be holding a card close to their chest. They've not put it out there. That makes it a slam dunk, and they're going to drop that on Bear when the timing's right. So that's it. Okay, next question. Would it have been possible for Barry to move Suzanne's even further away? What do you think?
Well, he may have had some time.
Yeah.
Between when she was last heard from.
Yeah, because how many times was he going back and forth to Indiana?
Well, yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
From what we're told.
And
so,
yeah.
What do you think?
No, I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah, I think he could have moved her. Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Maria, where's Larry living? Thank you. Great question. So I think he's tucked in with his family. Thank you. Barb, great to see you, Barb. How are you? Who's caring for Maya's 3 kids? Does Larry still have custody at this point? Thanks, Chris and Karen. Wonderful channel. Thank you so much.
Thank
so
you,
kind.
Barb. You're awesome.
So he has the children, but they've been going back and forth to the other his family, not Maya's family. They have asked for that piece of the puzzle to please let them connect with those children. She remember those children also have a grandfather and a grandmother on Maya's side, and that would be a great thing to see happen. Please, Larry, let your in-laws please see those babies. Please make that happen. Does he still have custody? Yes, because he's the biological father. He will have custody at this point until maybe if CPS gets involved and there's some exigent circumstances that would remove custody, his custodial rights away from him. But that still has to be weighed out. Those are all critical pieces that are still being balanced. And I think being patient right now is the word of the day. But more importantly, Larry, please reach out to Mary, Chris, Richard, and let the children be in contact with their grandparents. Okay, next. Why are they using ground penetrating radar in the Morphew case? Well, that's a great question. So that would be an indication that they potentially are looking for anomalies, i.e. they could be looking for a body of some sort. Say. So that would be the reason. Miss Angela 3223. Will you be taking the Airstream to Chula Vista? Well, we're not gonna tip our hat, okay? But let me tell you this, okay? We are mobile. Okay? We're mobile, right? That's a good way to answer that, right?
We're mobile. We'll be going all over.
Yeah,
all over wherever these
any other suspects in the Maya case. Well, there's the primary suspect, even though the police may or may not, come out and call it. Okay, there is a person of interest. I'll make the call. Okay, it's Larry. Yeah, that's a person of interest. And now, are there other 2? Yeah, it's Kathy and it's Ricky. Okay,
well, and police served a search warrant at their home already.
Yeah, they already hit it with a search warrant. So those are 3 persons of interest. I'll let the authorities describe, what they're doing because I don't have that information, but it is what it is. Okay, were coolers missing from the Morphew home? It appears that they were looking for, definitely searching for coolers. Great question, Ariadil. Vistamar, I hope you do an RV Life plus True Crime series. Well, okay, we appreciate that, but it's folks like you that really make solve crimes. I mean, I remember we were talking this. I can't remember who recently, but somebody asked us about why are you 2 doing this? And I said, well, people solve crimes, and so we're just talking to people, and we happen to have the skill sets that can connect some of the dots.
And this is your life's work. This is what you've been doing all your life anyway. So it's really a natural extension, progression of what you've already been doing. And
who better to do it with, right?
We're having fun.
Happy Mother's Day. Yes. Okay, what else we got? Has anyone heard from Trevor since? No. No. Well, unless you know something.
No, we haven't. We haven't heard.
Did you do anything in our research? In your notebook, anything that has launched him to the front?
Not yet, but we're constantly getting information coming in to us. So we'll keep you posted with when and if we hear something.
Yeah. Where do you think Maya is? I don't know. Okay. Thank you, Miss Angela. 3233. Louisiana girl, hey, aloha, good to see you. When, if ever, do you think the arrest affidavit will be released? So, Dylan, we have that. Can we put that motion up? So let me show you this motion that was filed, and it basically lays out what to this particular question. So if we can zoom in, and if you can't get any closer, that's okay. I'll explain it. So this was filed on the 6th, okay, here in Chaffee County, prepared by the court for Judge Murphy. And basically what it says, it's the order to release the affidavit. So basically it says the arrest affidavit in this case remains sealed upon the order of the court. During discussions between the court and counsel prior to today's advisement, it was agreed that the affidavit would be released to defense counsel immediately, and this has since occurred. Anticipating requests from the media and the public to unseal and release the affidavit, the court requests that each side give their position on the issue. The prosecution did not object to unsealing the affidavit for obvious reasons. Defense counsel requested time to read and review the affidavit before stating their position. This was a reasonable request considering the length of the affidavit. That tells you right there it's going to be batter up, okay? Therefore, the court gave defense counsel 7 days from today to note their position regarding unsealing the affidavit. So if it's the 6th of when this court order went in, it'll be 7 days from the 6th. So that's the 13th. It'll be the 13th and so it could be anywhere from the 6th to the 13th of where that arrest affidavit could be released to the public. Now, here's a really interesting point, because remember we learned at the hearing the other day that the judge asked counsel, do you have anything that's holding you back from a protective order, okay, to keep the girls away from Barry, okay? So we had 3 points that we learned, okay, that the prosecution was extremely concerned that Barry would be a flight risk.
Yep.
Not only just a U.S. flight risk, okay, but an international flight risk, okay, that there was rumbling that he was headed towards Arizona. Now, what's interesting is the Hope Foundation was going to support an orphanage in Hermosa, Mexico, right?
Yeah, we'll
Hermosa?
check that name. I think we've got it. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I think we're saying it wrong, but
So
a place in Mexico.
it could have been a cover play to just say, no, I'm doing Hope Foundation information or research or whatever. But it is a place down in Mexico as part of that, Hope Foundation. So the Arizona is right there at the border, and being a former guy from San Diego, we know that border real well. So the next thing is he was appointed a public defender to represent him.
And let's stop right there. A lot of people, I've asked that question, like, well, gosh, he made $1 million from the sale of Puma Path and all of his other business dealings. How come he's not hiring his own attorney?
Yeah.
And what is the answer to that?
He's cheap. Yeah, it's about greed.
Or could it be that if he's saying yes now, is there a way for the court to go back, look at his finances,
Yep.
and say, well, if you have this much money, you're not getting the public defender, you're going to have to pay for your own attorney?
Right. Yeah.
Is that an option down the road for the court?
Yeah, the court could order, right. And here, obviously in Colorado, I've learned that, you're automatically appointed if you're charged with murder. And by the way, that some of the defense counsel here is really good. But of course, Linda Stanley is no spring chicken. That gal has been down some pretty tough alleys, and I wouldn't want to go up against her, to be honest with you, on my side of the coin. So it's great to see. Hey, the last piece, and then we're going to get back to Maya and some of the questions, Dylan. The protective order. What was interesting in that particular hearing, the judge asked the prosecutor first, do you have objections to the protective order? Okay. And what we learned 3 things. The prosecution said, no, sir. The defense said, no, sir. And so the judge gave the protective order under 3 conditions. 1, that Mr. Morphew was to have civil contact with his daughters. He cannot threaten or harass them or annoy them in any way, shape, or form. If he did, he would be in violation of the court order, and he would be charged with another crime. So right now, what's happening is the court then asked the prosecution, did you turn over the thumb drive? That was code for, did you give them the affidavit of arrest? Okay. And the defense answered, and that's part of the discovery process, right? There's some laws called Brady, where all this information, People versus Brady, where all information has to be provided, and some other evidentiary rules of the court have to be adhered to on behalf of the defendant. So right now, every single piece of evidence that the prosecution has, initial thumb drive, has been handed over to the defense. So what a good defense attorney will do is print it all out. If it's this thick, he'll hand it to Barry and say, do your homework. And so right now, Barry is sitting in a cell, probably reading all the information about him. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, next question, Dill. Let's get back to any on Maya. Let's talk about her as well. Prayers for Maya and her family. Thank you, Ann. Yes, we totally agree. Everything is recorded in jail visits, right? Yes. Not only visually, but on the phones as well. Everything. Great question, Kathy. Thank you. And Vistamar, thank you for becoming a new member. We're grateful. And all of you who have joined us here tonight for becoming a member, thank you. We're grateful.
Thank
if
you
you can't, that's okay. Just show up with us on Sunday nights.
And tell your friends.
And tell a friend. Share the videos. We're grateful. Hello, Karen. We love you both. Will Larry be arrested if Maya's body never be found? You know.
Thank you, Mengling.
Yeah, Mengling, yes. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you something. I know that DA personally in San Diego. She's a bulldog. And she's just like Linda. I think those two are cut from the same cloth. There are some amazing, really, I got to be honest with you, I was more afraid of, that type of personality, i.e. Linda and Summer, than I was with some of the guys. Tom Manning, Tommy, I know you're still down there. What's up, buddy? These kind of guys and these kind of folks, they're top of the shelf. Top of the shelf. One of my best friends, rest in peace. His name is Mark Patine. We had a case. Mark took a case in San Diego. 3 juries in the courtroom. 3 juries. Okay, and that was a case. Her name was Rebecca Jensen. Was my victim, and Mark took all 3 defendants together in the courtroom. We had 45 jurors. But that's the caliber of DAs down there. So rest assured, you're in good hands if they hook him up. He's going to get justice, or Maya will get justice, and Larry will get a fair trial. And you can rest assured of that. Thank you for that question, Ming. How is it possible he shot 8 times, wasn't arrested immediately? It doesn't make sense. He shot her 8 times. Tops, that's a great question. And at this point, I think everybody knows what evidence potentially could be there. There may be additional evidence that the investigators needed to connect the dots on, i.e. looking for the guns, doing ballistics tests. There could be a variety of things that they may still have sitting at the lab. So before you just throw a set of bracelets on somebody, you want to have evidence that could prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, because think about it. A defense could say, there were 8 gunshots. Okay, then the other side of it could be, but was that an acoustic problem? And there's all kinds of other problems. Okay, the fact that we saw Friday night that they hit that house again, and I know what they took out. I'm not going to mention it. Okay, but I know what they took out. Okay, just cross your, just hang on, okay? And they're doing their thing, okay? And when they do it, if they put a set of bracelets on him, trust me, it's going to be solid. Okay, so I understand the frustration. I feel the same way, but we don't have all the facts. Miss Angela, do you think Barry will be allowed to post bond? How close do you think they're arresting Larry? I think they're close arresting Larry. When that happens, I have no idea. Do I think Barry will post bond? No. I don't think he's going to get an opportunity.
Larry or Barry?
Barry. Yep. Why did Chula Vista turn away cadaver dogs in search for Maya? Surely finding her body would be beneficial to them. I cannot answer that question, Lindsay. I do not know. Okay. And I don't want to speculate. Okay. Great question, though. Thank you for asking. Please explain the gun violence protective order issued in May. So a gun violence protection order would obviously be predicated on the children. Okay, that's where that's at. So the courts probably gave the authority to go in and swoop that house and remove all firearms, okay, based on the tape. What do you think happened during the gunshots? So many in long gap. The most frightful thing for me was the gap. I think it's 30 seconds, 29 seconds. That Billy had that tape. Okay.
Let's just take a minute and talk about that. I mean, there isn't a person who can listen to that and not just feel the pit of their stomach.
Yeah.
And, we don't have the whole totality yet of evidence and the story of what happened, but it is so compelling for us out of law enforcement that, we just have to wait. We have to be patient and wait and see how it all connects back to the case. But it gets you. It's
yeah.
How do you describe it?
Yeah, there's additional evidence coming where I think other people or folks are going to be, it's going to be pretty real. So we'll just leave it at that. I didn't realize you're Oceanside, Chris. Yes, yeah, you bet. I love this stuff. My dad used to take me to Oceanside Beach when I was a kid. I remember that case, the boy killed in the bathroom very well. That was my case.
That was Chris's case.
That was Matthew Checky. And I arrested Brandon Wilson for that case. Yep, that was my case, Black Lab. OG, thank you. Do you believe in psychic detectives that find the missing? I worked homicide a long time, and there are some people with gifts. There's no question about it, okay? And one of the most amazing human beings I ever met was a gal by the name of Rosemary Kerr. She used to live there just outside of Escondido, California. Rose has since passed, but can I show them your coffee cup? This is her Mother's Day coffee cup. It's a water cup. Yeah, but I work with Rose. I can't tell you how many times. January 16th, 1989, there was a little girl in Southern California by the name of Leticia Hernandez who was kidnapped, and subsequently we discovered her body off of the interstate going up towards Paula. Long story short, I was assigned to work with all of the psychics who were providing information. I came to love some of them, and then I came to just scratch my head and go, you've got to be kidding, with others. Okay. So that's my take on it. Do I believe that people have gifts and potentially, could provide information? Absolutely. Okay. But do I also believe that some people are imposters and could send you down a rabbit hole when you're looking for a 6-year-old little girl, and others like Suzanne, like Maya? Yes, that could happen as well. So we have to be very careful. And then those individuals who have been vetted, i.e., they've been utilized in the past on particular cases, can be deemed credible. Now, that evidence could never come into a courtroom. It's literally like writing down a note in a notebook for an investigator. So do I think they can be helpful? Sometimes, absolutely. I would never discount it. Is it possible to show 8 times clean up the house enough, not get arrested right away? Have you had a case like that? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Always keep that in mind. Okay, a lot of folks, and I'll use Matthew Checky's case that she just talked about. All I had in that particular case was a smear on the side of the wall in that bathroom from the suspect, and it was a transfer from Brandon, and it was a problem. Okay, it was a problem, and to this day I can see the whole thing in my mind. Okay? But you would have thought, right? And people thought, well, certainly this guy had blood all over him. No, that wasn't the case. In fact, the only blood we found on him was in his pants pocket from the transfer of the knife that he carried, and he put it in his pants pocket, and the poor little victim's blood was on the inside of his pocket. Other than that, there was nothing. So do I think someone could do this and clean it up quickly? Absolutely. Maybe, there's 1,000 things that we could probably think about and speculate all day long about, but we won't know until we're told by the authorities what they have. Okay. Next. Raul, will there be a body cam video of Barry's arrest? Man, I hope so. That's a great question. I mean, how cool is that going to be, right? Hopefully. I don't have that particular information. Do you know, honey?
I haven't heard yet
On that one? Okay.
Maybe it'll come out.
Great question. What else? Okay. All right. Well, that looks like that may be the last one. And so here's a couple last quick thoughts. First of all, thank you all for keeping Suzanne and keeping Maya out front in the news and in your communities, among yourselves in these on the YouTube channels. If you know somebody in the media, connect them with Maya's family. Okay, now she's the the next one here that we need to bring her home. Okay, and we need justice for Maya now. Okay, Suzanne, the Barry's locked up. Okay, but now we need to find Suzanne. Okay, so if you know somebody or you know something, please speak up. Okay, also keep the family in your prayers. Support them like you have been, Chula Vista and San Diego and around the world. We've had people from Scotland, Ireland, Norway, where else? Africa?
South Africa.
South Africa, Canada. Shout out to our friends up north. Yeah. Keep these families in your thoughts and prayers, but more importantly, keep Maya's name out front. Show her picture to everybody. Talk about her. The YouTube community, come together on this particular case as well. And there are 1,000 others. Okay, that we really, there's not enough time in the day to get to every one of them. But right now, one step at a time. Okay, we can do something collectively and for good. The other thing is thank you to our mods. And everybody, please take care of yourself on this Mother's Day. Tell your wife you love her.
Call your mom and tell her you love her if you haven't already done so. I'm sure everybody has.
Yeah,
and we're grateful that you are with us, continue to be with us. We hope everybody has had a wonderful Mother's Day. We're grateful for your support. We're grateful for liking our videos, for sharing our videos, for becoming a member, but just being part of the interview room community is fabulous. And it's an honor to get to sit here and share the information that we get with you all and be part of this. And a lot of good has been done and can be done.
And she's the brains of the operation. I've been trying to convince her to get in front of the camera, for a while, but she's not smarter than me anyway. So, we'll go from there. And D-Man in the background, we love you to death.
Shout out to D-Man.
Shout out to D-Man.
Thanks for all you do.
And if you look at some of the production that we've done, that's all his work. We really feel blessed that he's got a gift, and hopefully you're enjoying it. So go watch Lost Dreams, what we learned about Barry Morphew. I think that will give us a little more insight. Larry, we want to talk to you. We look forward to seeing you. And Richard and Mary Chris and the rest of your family, God bless you. We're coming. So let's keep the faith and let's keep moving. Take us out, Dill.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company. Now I need a summer breeze.